Hey everyone, before the video starts, I just want to jump in and say I'm very sorry, but my mic cut out in the middle of recording, so you're gonna have to endure my camera audio. I don't think it's that bad, but it's not gonna sound as smooth and crisp as when I use my mic, so please bear with me and enjoy the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are new, my name is Lily and I'm a Chinese transracial adoptee. Every week I post episodes to the My Adoption Story, as well as weekly vlogs showing my life as a woman of color and PhD candidate. So if that's something you're interested in, there's a subscribe button right there. Click that and we can get into the video. Hey everyone, so welcome back. How I start all of my videos. At the very end of this episode, there are going to be 2 video recommendations specifically for you. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around to the end and let's get to the topic. I am kind of scared to talk about this one just because I know that there are a lot of adoptees who prefer using this term and prefer having this phrase to describe the shared adoptee trauma, the shared adoptee pain, the shared adoptee experience, and just a different way to describe a fellow adoptee. And I actually don't see it a lot with international adoption because I think the term it has a different meaning for us, it has a different significance for us. And so I started speaking out about this. When you're watching this, I think I would have started speaking out about this again about a month ago, and I've spoken about it in the past on Twitter. But the term is cribmate. And like I said, I completely understand the need to use a term that describes the adoptee's shared experience and the trauma and the pain and the grief and everything that goes along with being an adoptee. But cribmate is it's kind of a triggering term for me. And I'm really not sure how in-depth I want to go with my personal story just because it is a more sensitive topic to me and it is about a time that I was truly the most vulnerable in my life. But I will try to share a bit about myself to explain why this term is triggering. So I guess one of my first, not really issues, but red flags is that a lot of times adoptees that use this term never spent time in an orphanage and never actually shared a crib with anybody. A lot of times it was private infant adoption where they went straight to their adoptive family and didn't share a crib. And that wasn't the case for me. The orphanage that I was in for the first 2 months of my life was not good. I don't really want to get into it that much, but there is a documentary that's quite old now and it made a lot of waves, and it's called The Dying Rooms. And part of that documentary was filmed at my orphanage. So I think from that title you can guess what it was like. There were multiple babies to a crib, so I did have crib mates, and while I was there, I was not held. I suffered from malnutrition, I had scabies, I had a chest infection. It was not a good place. And then a private group home, Mother's Love, took me to their home, and it was just me and 11 other babies. And I had a crib mate there as well, but we were actually cared for and we were actually nursed back to health. And then I went to my foster family and then my adoptive family. And so, I mean, I think about my time in the orphanage, and obviously I don't have memories of it, but my body can remember it. And when I see crib mates used all the time in the adoption community, it's like my mind immediately goes back to that place. My body immediately goes back to that place. And I just think about how we endured another trauma, really. Because when you are your most helpless in your first few months of life and you're not being held, you're not being fed, you're just there in these conditions away from your biological family, it's just not really a good thing that I like to talk about ever, and I really don't ever talk about it unless it's to inform someone of why I find cribmate to be quite triggering. I do think about my cribmates often, actually. I don't know who they are. I think maybe for the group home I might be able to figure it out, but I don't know how the records were kept back then. But, you know, thinking about my government orphanage and the fact that the conditions were the way they were, and part of the Dying Rooms documentary was shot there, I mean, I question, like, did we all make it out? Did we all survive that? Maybe they did and they aged out. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they were adopted out, but I don't know. And so cribmate to me, and I know to many international adoptees who spent time in orphanages in similar conditions, it just has this different meaning to us. And a cribmate isn't just some abstract term that I can use for fellow adoptees, because I actually had cribmates. So I can't use that for someone else because I'm not going to equate them with the other babies that I spent the first 2 months of my life with. They were my only real human connection at that point, and that's really, really important to me. And so as much as I love connecting with fellow adoptees, as much as I want to remind all of us that we aren't alone, I just cannot use that term for other people, and other people cannot use it with me because we were not cribmates. It's just a completely different meaning to me. And I hope that the adoptees who didn't spend time in orphanages and didn't spend the first few months of their life in these types of conditions, enduring this new trauma with their cribmates, I hope you might reconsider and be receptive to this message. Everyone that I've talked to personally on social media has been amazing, and many have changed and have stopped using the term. If you want to use the term for your adoption and your connections, that's fine. I don't want to stop you from that. I just want to give a different perspective, and I want you to be aware that if you're using it for me to describe our connection, I might get a little triggered and I might get a little frustrated, just because, I mean, I don't mean to be aggressive or mean. No one means that. It's just when you're triggered, your body goes back to that place, and my body does not want to be there at all. I mean, there are other terms that we can use. I really just use fellow adoptee. That's it. I don't think it's too long. I don't think it's too boring. A fellow adoptee is just a really great way to describe your fellow adoptees. I like anything that doesn't take a term that is triggering and traumatic and really significant to a certain portion of adoptees and then start using it to describe all adoptees. So it just sucks that we have this shared trauma and have this shared pain, but then there's so many levels to it and so many nuances. And I mean, I do feel the need to have a term that we can use to describe our community and use to describe our adoptee family, but cribmates just really isn't for me. And yeah, I don't know what the alternative is. If you guys have suggestions, like, comment below, we can get something started. But I guess that's it. I am still kind of wary about posting this because I do know there are a lot of adoptees who really feel connected to the word even though they did not have cribmates. And so I don't know how much backlash or whatever I'm gonna get on this one, but I just want you guys to be aware that that's where I'm coming from. That's why I get triggered by the word. And if you are an international adoptee, specifically from China, and you weren't aware of these things before, I'm sorry for being the bearer of bad news. I highly recommend that you look at your own paperwork and files and do a little bit more of your own digging into Chinese orphanages. They're not all bad, but they're not all great either. And so I think that's it. I'm having a hard time really getting my thoughts together on this one. I think because my mind is going back to that state of not wanting to be there. And so I'm just gonna wrap it up and say cribmates is not the term for me, and it's probably not the term for many adoptees. So please be aware of that when you are using it, and maybe there's a better term that we can all come up with to describe our adoptee family. But until that point, please just don't use it for me. So that's the video. Like I said at the beginning, there are going to be 2 videos, 2 of them recommended specifically for you. So stick around for that, and I will see you on Tuesday.